Hey everybody, today I want to show you a cool tool that can help you make a tiny little hole just when you need it. And spoiler alert, I'm going to show you how to make holes in fabric and in paper and why you would want to. Alright, so first of all, let's take a look at this. I ordered this off of Amazon. I'm super excited to try it because I think it's really going to make marking darts or transferring notches and things from patterns to fabric super easy. And then I'm also going to show you how it can help out when you're making buttonholes. So it wasn't a super expensive thing, and I can see myself using it for a few different things. So the first thing is I want to show you, it comes with a variety of different diameter holes, which is nice because depending on what you're using it for, you might want a smaller or larger hole. And the first thing I want to do is show you how to change the tips that have the different size holes. So the first thing you do is you unscrew this part right here, and then you can pull it out. But if you're having trouble pulling it out, you can also use a stiletto to help poke it out. And I think the first time it was really tight, but then the more I used it, I think it becomes hand friendly. So if you can't get it out with your hand, just use the little stiletto to give it a little shove through this slit, and you can change the tip. Now, this is kind of a fun thing. On the packaging, it has the different size holes, so we can use the tips to poke out these size holes, and then you can use this as a gauge to see what size you have installed in the handle. So I'm just going to turn them all so I can see the size holes here. All right, so I'm just standing them on end. All right, so then the two is down here. That was the one in the handle that it came with. So we have a 1.5, we have a 2, we have 2.5, we have 3, we have 3.5, and we have 4 millimeters. So, the biggest hole is approximately, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. So that's a good size for making a bigger hole. But I'm going to pick the middle one. So I'm going to go with the 2.5 millimeter hole. I'm going to stick that in there. Okay. And then I'm going to screw this cap back on. And that's what holds the tip in place. All right. So the first thing I want to show you is I have this piece of scrap cardboard. I'm going to use that to put underneath what I'm punching holes in. And just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and line this up on the 2.5 hole, and I'm just going to create a hole, and it did a really easy job. I barely had to press. I don't know if you noticed that, but it had sort of a spring action to it. Watch, I'm going to do it again. Okay, and you can see it made the perfect 2.5 hole. So now if I go over to the 3, I can fill these in. I can do all of these, and then I'll have a gauge for which, and then I can fit it in and say, oh yeah, I've got the 2.5 hole tip on, or the 3 or whatever. So if you want to keep this as a guide, you can punch all the holes out, and then you'll have it. So if you pick this up after not using it for a while, you can stick it in there and see, oh, okay, I got the 2.5 in there. All right, so I'm not going to finish doing that. I will later, but you can see this little piece of cardboard, which is just a corrugated. It was a lid to something I ordered, and it's strong enough to protect my cutting surface from making little holes in my work surface. So now I'm going to bring over my mini shirt pattern here. A lot of times people ask me what is the best way to mark or transfer the marks for a dart. So what you can do here is you can literally make a hole at the tip of your dart, okay, and then make a hole like maybe at the stitching line area of the dart legs like this. Okay, and so when you lift it up, you can see that I've got these 3 holes here, right? And then also I can do one for my front notch. Okay, I love this. So now look I've got my marks on my pattern, and I'm just going to take this linen. We're going to pretend I cut this out. And the thing I like about this now is if I have a pattern laid out, you know, on my fabric, on the wrong side of my fabric, before I lift up my pattern piece, I can literally take my Choco liner and just mark all my holes. And I think this would work with either a Choco liner like this, or you know, your chalk triangles. I think it would work either way. So I'm just going to make little X's like that. And then you can see there's my dart, and there's my front armhole. So of course, after I have that, if I wanted to also continue to draw my lines, then I could very easily draw my lines. So I think this is going to be my new preferred way to mark my darts and also keep track of my notches on my sleeve cap and my armholes. All right, so I increased the light, the exposure, so you can see that there are my dots. I drew the lines, and there's my front armhole. So it just really makes quick work of transferring darts and notches to your fabric. And the cool thing is, once I have these, if this is a pattern I'm using over and over again, then it's all good to go for the next time. So I'm very excited about this. So that's the first way I would use this hole punch. Another way I would use this hole punch is if I were going to be putting an attack button on jeans, for example. So here's a pair of jeans that do not have a button or buttonhole sewn on to them yet, and we're going to plan on putting our button right here at the top of my zipper. So I'm going to just take my cardboard, stick it there. I'm going to mark the position of my button, which let's say I want to put it right here. All right, I know it's hard to see in this black denim, but if I just poke in here, you see I'm not really pressing, I'm just opening it up with my stiletto. It made a very nice hole, and I didn't even need to use my muscles. Now I will tell you, I have an eyelet cutter somewhere in my bowl of tools, and it has gotten so dull that I can barely cut through denim fabric anymore. This is super sharp. So I'm very excited about this little punch, and I love the fact that I can change the diameter of the hole that I'm making if I need to. So I think this is a fun little tool. It's got this little bit of a spring action to it, and I'm just gonna show you one more time here. If I just punch it on this cardboard, you can see that it twists and it punches very easily, and it makes holes very, very easily. I barely used any muscle to get that hole. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is this opening right here, that is for letting all the little dots come out. So if if I'm doing a lot, they'll eventually start to show up in that window and fall out. But if I've just done a few, so if I use my stiletto and poke through here, they come out here, and you can see they all fell out. So there are all my pieces of fabric and my little pieces of cardboard and different things right there that fell out of the cutter, so it keeps it nice and clean. The only other thing I want to say here is I've already nestled everything back into this case. I think I would use this case to store it only because you don't want to lose those little bits. So it's very easy just to slide the backing right back on like this, and then you can keep all of your parts together for the next time you want to use it. So that's the other thing I wanted to show you. So I think this is a fun thing. I think you can use it to mark all your patterns. You can easily transfer markings and bust darts waste darts to your fabric. And then also you can use it to make holes in fabric, or if you work with leather and you need to make holes, this would be fabulous. You can also use it as an eyelet cutter. So that's why I'm kind of excited. We've got this larger, almost 1/8 inch punch. So if you want to make eyelets, you can do that as well. And if you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.